Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the last day of the week. It's Friday today. We are going to be continuing with our newspaper article based on Vajak Paul this morning. What I want to do to begin with, though, is I want to read chapter 21. And what I will be doing is setting you a little challenge over the weekend to listen to chapter 22. I'll set it up as a separate video on the school website. So if you could just listen to chapter 22 ready for Monday's lesson, that would be brilliant. Okay, so chapter 21 this morning, it's on page 152 of the ebook on Microsoft Teams or on the school website. Press pause while you're finding it and press play when you're ready to listen and follow. Chapter 21. Varjak's wounds healed as the moon grew bigger in the sky. He slept most days in Holly's alleys or hunted and foraged for food with her. By night, they searched the city for Tam. He was worried about her, but he liked learning about hidden ways and secret paths that no one else knew. Together, he and Holly walked the city walls, its window ledges, its shadowy back streets. They always kept clear of people, though they could often hear them close by. They stayed away from the wide main roads, and they never approached or even mentioned those shrieking, roaring metal monsters that prowled up and down them. Everywhere they went, they asked about Tam. No one had seen her. Neither Vajak nor Holly said the word, but it was beginning to look like Tam had vanished. Now, said Holly, there's one part of the city we haven't searched yet, and it's time we did. Sally Bones territory? It's dangerous, but we've got to try it. Vajak didn't say anything. He didn't think they'd find Tam there. They were nowhere near it the last time they saw her. And he didn't want to run into Razor again so soon. But he was curious about the tales of Sally Bones, the cat who was white and could appear out of thin air. Holly led the way through the streets, out of their familiar ground, and into parts of the city Vajak hadn't been in before, though he'd glimpsed them from the hill long ago. The streets became bigger the further they went. So did the buildings. One of them was almost as high as a hill, and its outlines sparkled with lights. It had a glass front, windows instead of walls, each showing something different inside. Vajak peered into a window. There were animals in there, ranged out and displayed on glass shelves, little furry mice, fluffy rabbits, colourful birds. Their eyes were open, but they were silent and still. It was as if they were stuck in the moment, frozen in time, forever about to move, but never quite making it. Stop staring, Mr. Paul. Never seen a toy shop before? What are they? The toys? They're nothing. Children play with them. She moved off down the pavement. Come on, we can't hang about on Sally Bones territory. Vajak tore his eyes away from the frozen scene and followed her. But he was getting the strangest feeling. It was like in the alley before the mouse hunt, a cold sensation, being watched by something not quite alive and not quite dead. He let his awareness flow out again and found the source. It was coming from a stack of boxes by the toy shop door. One box had fallen on its side and split open. The flap hung loose and limp. I'm very well, thank you, please, said a tinny little voice from inside the box. It rustled, and out came a cat. Vajak first thought that it looked like Tam, or a cruel joke about Tam. It had her shaggy chocolate brown fur and comfortable look, but everything else was horribly wrong. Like the animals from the window, it didn't seem real. Its eyes were wide open, but they were glassy, expressionless. It was smiling, but the smile was weirdly empty. It talked, but back to front nonsense. Tam? Said Vajak. Tam? Happy, 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 said the cat. Varjak's fur stood on end. It's Tam, he cried. Look, Holly, what's happened to her? Don't be stupid, said Holly. It's a toy. She peered closer at the hat. Its head nodded, bobbing up and down cheerfully. It's a good one. Very realistic. Look at the detail. The fur's perfect. But it's Tam's fur. Tam's fur was never so neat. Holly sniffed it. Doesn't smell like a cat, does it? And listen to it. That's not how any cat talks. I'd be your friend forever, said the toy in its strange, hollow voice. Oh, Holly, it's horrible. I'm sure it's Tam. Holly wheeled about and faced him, mustard eyes on fire. Of course it's not Tam, she yelled. Get it through your head. Tam's gone, see? She's vanished. There was a moment of silence. Even the toy cat seemed to be hanging on her words. There, I said it. She's vanished. She was a greedy idiot, and now she's vanished. Another fine friend who's left me. She's not coming back, ever. Understand? Barjack had never seen her so upset. He knew Holly missed her friend, of course, but she was so spiky and cool, she'd never shown it before. Are we going to keep looking for her? He said softly. Here's your pretty kitty cat, said the toy. Holly closed her eyes. No, she's not here. She's not anywhere. She's vanished. She shook her head. I'm sorry I shouted at you. It's just, that's not Tam. Barjack peered again at the toy cat. She was right. Tam had vanished. But this wasn't her. It looked like her, but that was all. It wasn't even alive, wasn't even dead. A cat which was not quite a cat. And behind it there were more just the same, shuffling around in the broken box. I am very well, thank you, please, they said. He shivered. I don't like them, he said. Why would anyone want one of those when they could have a real cat? People like toy cats better than real cats, said Holly. No looking after. They do what you want. They're always nice and cute, not like us. She grinned. Not like you, anyway. You couldn't get a toy cat to stink if you tried. He had to smile. Come on, she said. Let's get out of here before we run into Sally Bones. Let's go home. Barjack's mind whirled as they sped back through the city. He didn't like these toy cats, not one bit. But then he remembered that toy mouse back in the Contessa's house, how real it had seemed, and how much he'd wanted to play with it. The Contessa's house. He hadn't thought about it often, with all that was happening, but the idea brought pictures to his mind. An empty armchair, an antique fireplace, a row of china bowls. The pictures were hard to hold on to. They kept changing into other pictures. The harder he tried to hold on to them, the harder it became. Even the garden that night, the gentleman's lips, the way his cats moved, it was all fading. At that moment, Barjack felt he would give anything to be with his family again. Away in the distance, he heard a muffled roar of the metal monster. A great wave of sadness washed up from his stomach. Let's stop here, Mr. Paul, said Holly suddenly, snapping him out of his thoughts. She pointed at a covered alley. We're still on Sally's turf, but it's more dangerous to walk through her streets now than to sleep here for the day. She smiled at him. He tried to smile back. Couldn't. Hey, what's wrong? She said. I want to go home. I told you it's safer to stay here. Not that home. My old home on the hill. Still thinking about that? She shrugged. What's stopping you? I can't. I was supposed to go back with a dog to save my family from the gentleman and his cats. I tried to get one, Holly. I stood there in front of those monsters, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even get them to talk. He closed his eyes, the shame still stinging like a new cut wound. I failed. It's not your fault, she said gently. Dogs are scary. Stupid too. I've never heard of a cat who could talk to them. Barjack sighed. Jalal could do it, he knew that, but he was no Jalal. He wasn't even a proper Mesopotamian blue. All I know is I've let everyone down. I can never, ever go back. Without a dog, I don't have a home anymore. That's not true. The whole world's your home now, even Sally Bones' territory. She winked and mustard-eyed him. Let's get some sleep. It'll seem better tomorrow. You never know what's around the corner. They settled down side by side in the shadows of the alley. There was no invisible barrier between them anymore. There hadn't been for quite a while. Okay, that's the end of chapter 21. So, this morning then, we are going to be writing the main paragraph of a news article. Okay, so today we're going to think really carefully to write the main two paragraphs of the news articles about the vanishing. Each paragraph will explain a part of the story and have a quote by one of either Varjak, Tam, or Holly. Now, these are going to be the quotations that you designed in Wednesday's lesson. So you will be using the quotes from Wednesday's work to help with your main paragraph this morning. But let's look at the two main paragraphs from this week's Waggle. And what I've done, I've put them onto two slides, as you can see. And in red, it's where we're giving the reader the information of what's happening. But the bit in purple underneath are the quotation that goes with it. So, for example, here, in the early hours of Wednesday morning, another cat strangely vanished once again. It was reported that the cat was last seen in a narrow, filthy alley deep within the depths of this vast, sprawling metropolis. Our main suspects for these puzzling vanishings are notorious gang members Sally, Bones, and Ginger. And then we've got the quotation. So, her name sends a shiver down my spine. I am petrified of her. She must have something to do with these horrendous vanishings, exclaimed a brown street cat named Tam. Okay, so I've given a quote there by Tam, and it just backs up everything that was said in the first part here. I then go back to some more information. However, this is not the only occasion where cats have mysteriously vanished. Another stray, named Luca, went missing only a few days ago. And then we have the quotation about it. So you can see a pattern starting to emerge. Luca was one of my best friends until he joined a gang. The next thing I knew, he'd gone, snapped Holly, a black and white street cat. Next bit of information. Many stray cats feel unsafe on the streets, and who can blame them? A nice rhetorical question there. I was shocked when I discovered that these innocent cats were being taken from the streets. What if it's me next? Cried Varjak, a Mesopotamian blue. As a result, many cats are staying in secret spots around the city in hope that they won't be next. So you can see what I've tried to do. I've tried to give some information and then have a quote about it. Okay, and that's what I'm going to be looking for you to do this morning. Okay, so our independent task this morning is to write the main two paragraphs of your newspaper article, including inserting your quotations. So you'll need to copy them from Wednesday's work. Remember, make a point, then back it up with a quote. Use speech marks correctly, new speaker, new line, speech marks around the spoken word. Punctuate the speech before the closing speech mark with one of either full stop, comma, question mark, or exclamation mark. And try not to use the word said. So use words instead of said in order to make the writing more interesting. For example, you could use shouted, exclaimed, whispered, those sorts of words. Try and include paragraphs, quotes from Varjak, Holly, or Tam. Correct, we talked about correct use of speech. You might want to be able to use frontal adverbial phrases, and you should be using expanded noun phrases in your writing. Okay, I'm going to give you probably half an hour to write on this morning. I would suggest that's about 15 minutes for each paragraph. If you need a little bit longer, of course, you can take it. I'd suggest you press pause while you're writing and then press play when you're ready to come back and work. So 30 minutes from now, press pause. Okay, so let's just get you to have a look at your writing this morning. Can you check it against the success criteria? Have you used everything on it? And if you haven't, how could you to try and improve the paragraphs? Could you, with a different colour pen or pencil, show me where you could improve it? Maybe you've used the word said, and perhaps you could improve that. Maybe you've not put new speech onto a new line. Maybe you've not used speech marks correctly. So how are you going to make it better? How could you insert words to make things better? For example, I'm very fond of when we're in the classroom. I might say to you that I want you to upskill. I might want you to insert better words. Could you do that? Could you go back and look at it? Okay, just spend 5 minutes or so just reading through what you've done. Look at how you can improve it and make sure that it makes perfect sense. Okay, I look forward to reading some of these. Okay, so and I know Miss Flukes will as well. So off you go. Have a little go at editing, redrafting, putting in any things that will make it better. And I'll see you on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll speak soon. Last thing, just to remind you of, if you haven't already switched off, don't forget, I want you to have a little look and read chapter 22 on the standalone video before Monday's lesson. Okay, thank you ever so much, guys. Take care. Bye bye.